Hi muckers and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay, for a little bit of context, it is currently 2 a.m. and I was just at the gym. This is the first time I've been to the gym in literally months. And I had a really good workout and I was planning on coming home and showering and going to bed, but I've came back and if you go to the gym and you have like a really good session, you always come back with like a buzz, and that's currently how I feel right now, and my sense of releasing energy is always talking and catching up with the muckers. So that's what I'm gonna do, even though it is so late, and I'm gonna upload this video tonight. So if you're watching this right now and it's like a couple hours after it, you're a tripper. And if you're watching tomorrow and beyond, I still love you and you're a tripper too for listening to my videos. So I posted a couple videos today, and one of them was talking about the David Dobrik documentary by Casey Neistat, and there was a little rundown that I reiterated and read through, and it was posted on the H3 subreddit. So the H3 subreddit obviously was coming from a really non-biased standpoint with this because, you know, they're covering the story so that Ethan can be provided with the entire context. And the only reason I'm saying this, it's not taking away anything from the H3 fans. It's just I have been sent that on the David Dobrik subreddit, someone went to the premiere of the documentary that Casey Neistat made against David Dobrik, and has given the story in like 10 slides. And I'm going to go through it. And the reason that I did that little prelude was because this is written by a David Dobrik fan. So I am going to be taking this with a pinch of salt. The David Dobrik subreddit that this is coming from has been very critical of Casey Neistat and has been very critical of the fact that he made this documentary very clearly because they're pissed off that there's negative attention towards David, that David's getting called out. They were very angry at Kat whenever she released the article talking about the Vlog Squad and what happened with Dom, so that's to be noted. So it's important to note that with what we're going to read right now, it is through the lens of someone who wants David to appear as great as possible. I have not read this yet. Again, I was just sent this whenever I was walking home, and I'm going to go through it with you. So I'm very interested to see what they have to say. So it starts with, the documentary starts with David in his bedroom in June 2021. David expresses that he felt like shit that day. Casey asked him, knowing what he knows now with all the stuff coming out, if he would do anything differently. It then cuts the scene and shows clips of when the filming for the documentary started in 2018. Now, this is the most surprising thing to me, that this documentary has been in the making for so long. I understand with films, it takes so fucking long, but the fact that there's been a David fucking Dobrik documentary in the works since 2018, which is 2018, 19, 20, 21, 5 fucking years. And it started as just showing this like boy with a camera and look at him taking on the world. That was kind of the approach that Casey Neistat was going with. And it's been said that the more that Casey got involved in the world of David, he realized how shady it was and the things he was seeing firsthand, the things he was hearing secondhand. And then a really big point was whenever Kat Tembarge from Insider, who now works at NBC, shout out to Kat, we fucking love you, released the article talking about Hannah's story against Dom and David's involvement in that, and the Vlog Squad's involvement in that, and the pattern of behavior that they have with covering up really disgusting acts that their friends do and dangerous acts. And Casey kind of took that as a way of looking deeper into that story as well, and that's why the documentary took this little turn. So with that, it's to note that even though it has been since 2018, it took a completely different turn. The rewind walks us through the peak of David's career, all of the college shows, his Jimmy Fallon appearances, etc. Casey was there capturing everything. When Casey asked him what David does for a living, David responded, "I have fun. I make people think I have fun." Yeah, you do that and you put your friend's life at danger, don't you, baby boy? Yes, you do. You nearly end your friend's life for a little bit of clickbait, but that's not as fun as saying, "I have fun." Well, I make people think I have fun. Oh, shut up. The first clip with Kat is basically her praising David. Who David was at the time, she called him the YouTuber, and continues saying that he was unstoppable until the events started to unfold. Again, if that's true, I don't think that's anything negative. You could say that about Jeffrey, you could say that about Shane, you could say that about literally any YouTuber who's at the top who had a fall. They were the YouTuber. Zoella was the YouTuber, a British vlogger. Who else? Trying to think who kind of fell off. Lily Singh at a time was the YouTuber. Gabby Hanna at a time was the, well, Storytime YouTuber. No shade, queen. Casey interviewed everyone in the group minus Carly and Aaron. He even interviewed Dom in 2018. By the way, what do you guys think, if you know the vlog squad, of Carly and Aaron? I think people think that they're the best ones, and I think from what I know, they're the least problematic ones. I know that everyone kind of has, skeletons in their closet, especially within the vlog squad, but I feel like people like them the most. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, please, if you're watching and were they one of the ones that came out with a video talking about Hannah's story first? I'm pretty sure they sat down with a video like disowning David. I may be mistaken though. He even interviewed Dom in 2018. They all gave their background stories and how they're related to David and what their role was in the vlogs, basically being the talent, because David doesn't have any. Doesn't say that, but I just feel the need to add it. They all agreed that David is the reason why they are successful and that they owe their careers to him. And again, this fucking pisses me off. Literally, I say this in every fucking video. Why do people not acknowledge that David would be nothing without these people? Yeah, it is such a, transactional thing that they have the career because of David, but David has one because of these people. If David Dobrik was to do the stunts or do the jokes or do the bits in his video that he has his friends doing, they would not land. They would not be funny. He is not a funny person. Oh my God, it pisses me off. So they all agreed that David is the reason they're successful. According to Kat, everyone in the group is coerced to do things for David because he knows that their careers and bank accounts are in his hand, especially Jason's. And that's not shady at all. That's not scary at all. That's not fucking terrifying at all that they have to do anything because David is their bank account. Fuck me. Casey went with David for a viewing of a house he now lives in. He asked David what his budget is, and David says maximum $6 million. Oh, how relatable. How fucking relatable. How relatable. Everything above that he cannot afford. Oh, baby can't afford anything above $6 million. Boo-hoo. Loser. Loser. You can't... Oh, David, that is fucking sad. You can't afford a $6.1 million mansion. Loser. I love relatable topics. This is so real. I've never fucking related to anything more in my entire life. I'm going to be honest with you. Everything above that he cannot afford. Can you fucking believe that, muckers? This is so ridiculous. If he then cuts, it cuts then to the friends telling him that he should buy the house and that he can just sell it if he goes broke. Relatable. I love fucking landlords. No, fuck landlords. The documentary cuts to David during his interview in 2021, where he gives some insights to Dom's character in the videos. David admitted that he had a big part of how everyone perceived Dom, and that he gave him a platform for his behavior. He just never thought that Dom would take it this far. This also aligns with what he said in his second apology video. I love that the fan even has to acknowledge that it's not the first apology video for the same thing. He did a couple because they were so fucking shitly received each time because they were so bad. Fuck me, when can a YouTuber do one apology video and it's fine? They then, and it's not even like 2 apology videos for 2 separate things. It was 2 fucking apology videos. Now his third. He posted a third one a couple days ago for the same thing, and all 3 of them have been fucking awful in their own ways. They then show clips of Ali's video about Dom and show David's comments saying proud of you, etc. After that, it goes back to David, where he says that he didn't see the power dynamics come into play back then, and looking back at it now, it's fucking gross, he says, even though we're told that he acknowledged that he is these people's bank accounts a couple words ago. Casey asked him to run through the night in question. David basically says that Dom texted him about the fact that he had invited girls over for a fivesome and that David should come over to interview them. It's also important to note how many times we're told that David would actually tweet out for girls to come over and where their apartment was, especially in the earlier days of his YouTube channel, so that they could film bits with Dom. So let's not act like this is Dom setting these things up. A lot of these times it was David and Natalie making sure that there were girls around at the apartments that they could film, and that is them purposely going out of their way to put these innocent girls in dangerous ways for the sake of the vlog, and then their disgusting friend, who they are aware of how he acts, then does fucking horrid, unthinkable things. For them to completely ignore their responsibility in that, while their friend is solely responsible, I think so, they are also forgetting to acknowledge their responsibility in setting these things up, and that is fucking gross. So him saying it's fucking gross, well, that's fucking gross. Casey asks him to run through the night in question. David basically says that Dom texted him about the fact that he invited girls over for a fivesome and that David should come over to interview them, because wouldn't that be such great fucking content? David's initial thought was there is no way that these girls are coming over to have sex with Dom. According to Kat, the girls were greeted with a camera in their faces with no consent forms or an introduction of safety protocols or precautions. Kat then continues the story and mentions Sarah, the girl who was sober during the entire night in question, and that she was the one giving Kat the details of what went down that night. According to Kat, David was jokingly trying to peep in the room while Dom was having sex with the girls, but the video shown in the documentary actually shows that it was Jonah and Jeff doing it. David then continues saying that after 15 to 20 minutes, the girls and Dom came out of the room and Hannah looked really drunk. David asked Dom what happened in there. Dom reassured him that nothing happened. So far in the documentary, Dom is the one that has been painted as the bad guy. Once Hannah gave context for David to post the video, content? Oh, they meant consent. I'm not going to misquote them, but it says, once Hannah gave content for David, I assume it means consent. David reads the text about consent out loud. It reassured David that everything was fine, nothing happened, and that he could post the video. He's saying this, but it was later said to him to delete it and take it down. And it can be said one moment and then said again in another one. For you to ignore the second time about taking it down, that makes you a fucking cock. Like, he's trying to, one-up Hannah and, the friends by saying, you gave me consent to post it. They also told you to take it down. Then Kat tells the story from Hannah's perspective. A few days after the incident, Hannah's friend asked her how the sex was with Dom. At first, she didn't remember that she had sex with Dom, until Sarah reminded her of what had actually happened. Weeks went by, and Hannah was constantly reminded of how gross she felt, getting constantly reminded of how gross it felt when she was with Dom, and when everyone came up to her because they recognized her from that video. She wrote the text to Dom to ask David to take the video down. So again, it is on record that David was asked to take the video down by Hannah. So as much as they're saying Hannah gave consent, she gave consent to post the video, and she also asked you to take the video down. I don't think this adds any good favor in their corner, and the fact that they think it does is so fucking overwhelming and shows so much about their character. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Kat did mention that a lot of the after shots were shot a few days later. She was referring to the "we're going to jail" comment. So this was basically like David making jokes with his friends saying, we're going to jail after this had happened in the vlog. Again, so ever fucking comical. Kat continues saying that Hannah wanted to press charges, but she didn't want to go through the process and have her name be out there. Casey did several interviews with different people, including a superfan, Ian from SeatGeek, the chief business officer from YouTube, and even Jack. I think Jack from Twitter? Is that Jack from Twitter, I think? Or is Jack... Oh, I think Jack is one of the friends. Well, Jack is also what was the owner of Twitter. What caught me off guard was that according to the title in Jack's interview, he was only David's manager. Oh, the manager. Okay. Up until 2020. Not sure if Casey got the timeline wrong, but I have seen Jack in Joe's videos this year where Jack was at David's house. Casey cuts to a scene in the private jet of their, again, ever so fucking relatable, on their way to Miami. Natalie never forced Corinna to take off her shirt. In fact, Corinna suggested it herself, and then everyone was like, yes, take it off, but you can even hardly see or hear Natalie. So I have no idea whether this was even mentioned. I can confirm that Natalie had no part in this, but Natalie has part in everything else. Let's acknowledge that, babe. Kat then goes on and on about the fact that if the sponsors would have seen any of David's content, they probably wouldn't have sponsored him. So she basically called out the major brands. Haha. That wasn't me saying that. It's literally, can you see it on the screen? It says, haha. Wow, these Vlog Squad fans are so fucking, they're really funny, actually. It then cuts to 2020, when the pandemic stopped. Or, when the pandemic happened, not stopped. We still haven't fucking stopped with that shit. David was quite happy that he stopped posting. Aww. He's happy that he had to take a break because of the scandals. Again, this is why I dislike all of these people. They get called out. They get called out for almost sometimes illegal stuff, just downright bad stuff, and they take a break because they have to. And then they're like, wow, this is a really good vacation. Like, they never face any repercussions. We see it with David. We see it with Jeffrey. We see it with James. We see it with Nikita. We see it with Trisha. We see it with all these people. And people like to fucking confess that cancel culture works. Here we have it, literally, that David is saying that he's so happy to have stopped posting for a bit whenever he was literally forced to. But don't worry, y'all. It was a fucking vacation for him. It says he used the pandemic as an excuse to not post, but in reality, he wanted to do something else, something beyond YouTube. He mentioned Dispo, the Netflix show, the perfume, and the pizza company. When Casey interviewed the squad during the pandemic, everyone was worried about how their careers were going to change now that David wasn't posting. They each had to pivot. Now, it's also interesting to note that all of the Vlog Squad members without David did quite well on their own, despite what you hear from Trisha fucking Paytas. They all did well on their own, retrospectively in their own projects, their own channels, their own podcasts, and they've actually been seemingly doing better mentally since being out of the Vlog Squad, which is no fucking surprise. What's interesting is whenever they're talking about the Netflix show, it has been said that Netflix didn't want to pick David up because they didn't want to work with a YouTuber. His app, Dispo, he was actually like the CEO of for quite some time. It was basically like a photo developing app where you would take a photo and you would get it the next morning on your phone. It was just kind of like, haha, this is, so quirky. And he actually stepped down from that whenever the major Hannah story came out because the other CEO didn't want the company to kind of go bust or look really bad, so they basically just asked David to leave. All right, Jeff's accident. When Netflix passed on David's pitch due to the fact that he is a YouTuber, again, I don't understand this. I said this in my last video. They've worked with YouTubers before Netflix. He decided to come back with a bang. Everyone was super excited and stoked about the idea of the comeback video. They wanted to create something that was way over the top and bigger than ever. According to Natalie, the biggest stunt in the video was skydiving. It then cuts to Jeff. He shows Casey the clip with Corinna on the rope. He then says that David wanted wait, what? He then says that David told him to get on it, basically begging him. So again, they're basically making this out that Jeff was begging to do this stunt. Even if he was, David was not qualified to be the one doing it on him. Jeff wanted to contribute to the video and agreed to it. All right, he agreed to it, not thinking that you were going to almost end his life. I really don't understand this victim blaming mentality, and this documentary is not showing David in a good light, and it's not going to if David is openly blaming Jeff for something that he did. Alright, it then cuts to David's explanation. To be honest, I was a bit worried about this part. This is what the fan says. But all David said was that he already had the footage he needed. I love how the fans are acknowledging that David is in the wrong here. Fucking hell. It was Jeff who insisted they should take it up a notch and make the video cooler. David was super up for it. There wasn't a point in his explanation where he was putting the blame on Jeff. He simply just explained it how it went down. I should also mention that Jeff didn't show any proof of David begging him to get on that day. He showed Casey a lot of clips from that day, but not anything that would show David begging him to get up on the rope. Heath even said that David panicked because he couldn't control the speed. That's when the excavator went on a sudden stop. It then shows some clips of Jeff, his injuries, and David. So David is acknowledging that he didn't know how to stop the fucking excavator. He didn't know how to work it, but yet he allowed his friend to do that. And you know why? He was so happy to sit in that seat and barely hold on to the fucking wheel and film with his DSLR camera and smiling and that fucking hideous laugh. He was willing to do that, and he is 100% responsible for it. I don't give a fuck. He is 100% responsible for it. And shows clips of David in the hospital with him. How fucking wholesome. David went to the hospital with him. Good boy, David. After the rundown of the accident, it cuts to Natalie and Jeff. Natalie said that David went into a dark hole for weeks and that his relationship with Jeff was not the same and neither of them knew how to deal with it. So, per me, David. David is the victim here. I don't know how you're not seeing it, mucker, but David is the victim. She even said that David told her this is a sign I should never pick up a camera ever again. But unfortunately, he didn't listen to his own mind and he came back to YouTube. So, let's not use the I should have never came back to YouTube one, because you didn't. You did come back, so don't try to guilt trip us. Jeff then continues saying that he saw a change in David, that he could clearly see that the accident had an impact on him. It could have also been the fact that David was not being able to talk about it in public, and that when the story would finally break, what people would think of him. So it's boiling down to that. David is nervous of what people will think of him, like always. Jeff then says that he wanted to tell his side of the story before anyone else did in his own time. So it does verify what David said. David didn't silence Jeff. At the end of the scene, Casey asks David, "Do you feel responsible?" David responds, "Yeah, I feel responsible." The aftermath of the article. David was the one who texted Casey asking, "Are you ready for the ending of your movie?" referring to explaining his side of the story. Casey asked him about the article and wants David to walk him through the events before it came out. David starts by saying that Kat reached out to him a few weeks prior to the article coming out. She wanted him to fact check some stuff relating to Hannah's story. Not clear of what stuff was. David never responded to Kat at that time because he wasn't aware if the story was going to be about David or Dom. So is he implying that there is SA against David? That he didn't know if the SA story were going to be against David or Dom? Is that what he just owned up to there? I'm not saying anything, I'm not speculating, but that's what that's reading like towards me. Unless this viewer just like wrote this really bad. He even continues saying, "If any of us knew what was going to be in that room that night, it would never have happened." He was surprised to see how the article involved him more than it should have, especially with the way he and his friends remember that night going down. Later on, it shows a clip of the first apology video and Kat criticizing it. She states that the first video was what had an impact on the story. Since he had a bigger reach, it wasn't her article. So basically, Kat saying that he was the one that brought all this attention to it in a very bad way. David said he wanted to explain himself, but he didn't want to come off as if he blamed the victim, which he has done time and time again. There were so many variables to the story that he didn't know how to approach it, so he decided to take the beating, and that kind of screwed him over. His words, not mine. David said that he wanted to explain himself, but he didn't want to come off as if he was blaming the victim. After an interview with the superfan, they show clips of David's second apology video, and it cuts to Jeff saying, "I don't think he thinks that he did anything wrong." He continues saying, "If you're not keeping it real, then I will." Not clear when he said this, must have been recently. Jeff claims that David knew about the incident already 3 months after it went down, but tried to cover it up. He literally said everyone knew what was going on, except for me. Jeff didn't show any proof of this. Kat claims that nobody actually knew or held David accountable, and that from her understanding, everyone in the vlog squad knew what went down that night. She also mentioned the alcohol and that nobody wants to admit who bought it. Kat also says that David was not an accomplice, but he was enabling the environment, which he's done time and time again. All that the victims wanted was for David to admit that he did something wrong. They say, "Didn't he do this in the second apology?" And then it goes on and says, "Lastly, Casey asked David if he thinks the article was fair. David says no. It was clear that they made it about the clicks and not because they had the victim's interest in mind." So again, David is just going down the ego route of saying that they needed him for this article whenever he was involved in it and needed to be in the story. He's just pissed that he was. Obviously. David never came across as discrediting the victims. It was more in relation to the article. Again, that is not me saying that. That is the fan saying this. David said a part of the purpose of being a content creator was killed. He wanted to be known for the good. Aww. He wanted to be known for the good, which was always being genuine, and because of the article that has now been stained his reputation. After showing a few clips of crazy comments on Twitter and Kat criticizing David's involvement, he tells Casey that he will continue to do good and to prove to everyone that he does not live for the bad because that is not who he is or wants to be. The documentary ends with a recap of all of his videos after his comeback. In conclusion, no new information was given except for Jeff spilling some tea with zero proof. So what David did the entire documentary too. David's narrative in the documentary does not prove that he doesn't have any remorse or guilt. I would even go as far as say the documentary was more centered around the influencer world and the consequences of wanting to perform for the clicks. So again, that is coming from David Dobrik fan on the subreddit. I'm actually going to give a shout out to them. Construction Deer 1895. Shout out to you. Thank you for this. Even if I disagree with you in parts, I appreciate you writing that and I appreciate your time. And to everyone over on the David Dobrik subreddit, hey, how y'all doing? Are we doing good, babies? How are we feeling? Are we loving this video that I'm filming? No, shout out to y'all. Shout out to people on the H3 subreddit. I appreciate both sets of people for providing me with recaps, and to this person who wrote this one as well. We have conflicting opinions on this, but I respect your opinions, and thank you for writing this. So, Muckers, I want to know your opinion on this. My overall take is that I'm excited to see the documentary. I have reached out to Casey and I've asked him if I can please see it, because I don't know if it's going to be months until they like post it somewhere. I just really want to see it and review it for the sake of like showing you and telling you like what was in it. So I'll see if he gets back to me. But anyway, my take on it is it's interesting that this literally started as a documentary showing like David's life in a really cool way, and it kind of ended as showing that David like is the worst. I don't think that he was signing up for that. But muckers, let me know your opinion on this. I love you so fucking much. Thank you for clicking on this video and thank you for being here. And if you've made it to the end of this video, please comment. Adam, take me on an excavator. If you've made it to this part of the video. All right, I fucking love you and I will see you in my next one, and thank you for your time. Bye.